Hi, I'm E.Lofstrom. I'd like to share with you how I go about sharpening the E.Lofstrom 1-inch radius edge signature skew. This tool, sharpened correctly and used properly, can give you some amazing results on the wood. But most people struggle with how to sharpen it. The sharpening process I'm going to show you in just a moment is really simple, but it requires some practice. So I'm going to highlight a couple different parts of the sharpening process so that you can tune into what parts can you practice to be able to achieve a razor edge on this skew. First off, I need to remove it from the handle. This is a modular tool. So if you want to put it in a wood handle, that's fine. I prefer a modular handle that's lightweight so that I can feel what the tool is doing and for ease of sharpening. Once I remove the handle, this reveals a little bit of the anatomy of this particular skew. It's a rectangular shank, so it really lends itself best to handles with grub screws in it. And this skew is 1 inch by 3/8 inch thick. This skew also has a radius edge with a hollow grind for the bevels. Let's take a look over at the grinder, how I've set up my platform to help me ensure a razor sharp edge on this tool. Now that we're at the platform, we can take a look at some of the setup protocols that I use for this platform and for sharpening the skew. I use the E.Lofstrom sharpening gauge. This helps me set my platform to the right angle, and this is designed for use with a 8-inch wheel. I prefer a CBN wheel because the diameter doesn't ever change. So once this is set up, this relationship stays the same. I also prefer an extension platform like this one. Whatever system you use, just make sure that you have support up next to the wheel so that you don't have a gap for the tool to get lost into and cause you problems. So with this sharpening gauge, I use this. I set this end up here to the wheel, and this section right here goes towards the platform. This is how it works. Put my thumb into the hole. I register it on the wheel. I actually use my index finger to pinch back behind the wheel and my thumb, and that ensures that this stays flat against the face of the wheel. I also then unlock my platform, loosen it up, and then I use my other fingers underneath to be able to pull the platform up and register it flat against this jig. I have this platform already set and locked in, and I can see that there are no gaps in between the gauge and the platform. So I know that I'm replicating the exact same angle. When I'm sharpening, I like to use a Sharpie pen. This helps me visually see once I've sharpened or ground the entire bevel. Now, most people think you got to go to the grinder every time that you sharpen this tool. That's not how I do it. In fact, I save a lot of steel by not coming back to the grinder every time. I use a diamond hone and a leather strop, and I'll share those two steps with you in just a moment. So I blacken in the bevel, and this just helps me see what part of the bevel have I already ground, what part do I still need to touch on the grinder. This grinding wheel happens to be a 60 grit CBN. This is a high-speed grinder. This is M42 high-speed steel. I'm just gonna kiss that bevel to be able to true it up, and really the only time that I use the grinding wheel is when I've chipped or nicked the edge. All the rest of the time I use a diamond hone and a leather strop. Before I turn on the grinder, I need to make sure that I'm protecting my eyes. These are some nice safety glasses with temple protection, and they wrap really nicely around my eye socket too. You don't want any metal shards or grinding shards getting up into your eyes. Now that I've got the platform set, the grinding wheel is ready, and I've blackened in the bevel, I'm ready to test and make sure that this orientation between the wheel and the platform is going to match the bevel angle. I'm going to turn my grinder on. Once I've turned the grinder on and it's come up to speed, I'm going to put my thumb on the skew right here, and my other fingers go behind the platform and actually pinch the skew onto the platform. So my other hand is free. I can just use it to help swing the tool. I'm going to go up and check to make sure that this platform is set correctly. Just going to grind really, really lightly, and I'm going to double check and see. Oh, I'm just a little bit off. If you notice, I've got some black right up towards the edge, but the rest of the bevel's dialed in. So I'm going to tap the front of the platform to tilt it forward just a little bit. Just 1 or 2 taps. I'm gonna check again. I'm almost there. I got a little bit of black right above my fingertips. I'm just gonna take 1 more tap. Just really light. Double check again. There we go. I am dialed in and it's grinding the entire bevel. I'm gonna sharpen using my left hand to pinch the tool right here. And I'm gonna swing the tool through the arc, keeping it registered nice and flat on the platform. I'm gonna go back and forth. Now, the reason I'm not using a specific cast light at the grinder is I want to be able to see these sparks coming right over the edge. That tells me, almost like a tracer bullet, right where I'm grinding the bevel. Okay, there we go. That bevel looks really nice and clean. I'm just going to double check for any chips. If I had chipped it, make sure that I have ground those away. I'm going to flip it over so that the blackened bevel is facing down. I'm going to get ready with my other hand. Again, thumb applying pressure, other fingers behind the platform that are pinching the tool. Just make sure that you keep your fingers out of the grinding wheel underneath there, okay? All right, my left hand is just going to use to swing the tool. If you're sharpening while you have a handle on the tool, that just means that you've got to make sure that the handle doesn't swing and bump into your body. Perfect, looking really good, nice clean bevel. A little bit of black that I got past the bevel right onto the shank of the tool, that's just showing up right here, no problem. All right, so now I can actually see the grinder burr on the top section right here. I can see it with the light, it's just at the edge. And that's how I knew that I had ground enough on the back bevel or that second bevel. As soon as I see that little bit of debris come right up over the edge, that's how I know. So this is ready for the next step. Once I'm done at the grinder and I have a nice clean bevel with that nice grinder burr on it, I use a diamond hone. Now, my preferred diamond hone is either a DiaSharp, which is made by DMT. This happens to be the extra fine, which is the green. It's at 9 micron. This is a credit card style diamond hone. And I really like the lightness of the credit card diamond hones because I can feel when the diamond hone is reaching across that hollow grind. I can feel it. You might be able to hear it too. Now, I can feel that with my finger and the finger pressure, and I use that to be able to help hone the grinder burr off and further polish the edge. Most people think a 60 grit CBN wheel, that's way too coarse for a razor sharp tool. It isn't, because remember, I just use the 60 grit if I have any nicks or dings in the edge. So I need to grind that nice long bevel really quickly and be able to get back into the turning game. So diamond hone, this is my preferred one. The other one that I really like is the Trend Carver's credit card diamond hone, and that has a 600 grit on one side and 1,000 grit on the other. This one has been in use for about 12 or 15 years and it's still working great. I just use it dry, it works great. So here's what I do. I take the grinder burr side, the bevel that has a grinder burr, which is the one on the top right now, and I turn that so that it is facing the diamond hone. That's the part that I want to hone off first. I use my finger pressure right in the middle of the hollow grind, and my other fingers just provide traction. Really important when I'm sharpening a sharp tool. I want to use my thumb right here to anchor my hand so that I don't slip off and slice myself, okay? I'm going to go a really simple motion, and I'm holding it up for the camera, but normally I do it with my elbows in like this, nice and relaxed, and I just go this motion. You can see how little motion I'm using, but it's very efficient. So let me hold it up for the camera. This is what I'm doing. I'm sliding the diamond hone back and forth, and as I'm doing that, this hand is twisting the tool so that I engage the entire edge along that movement. So I start at the long point, go to the short point, and then back. I don't need to do this very much. I just need to do it enough to be able to flip that burr up onto the other side. And I can feel that burr. I can even see a nice polished glint right off of the edge. I don't know if you can see it right there in the in the video. It's just shining just a little bit, and I can see that. So the burr is on this side, so now I'm going to flip it over so that that side is facing the diamond hone, and I'm going to repeat. Just like that, I just went over and back. Really nice and easy, and I've already flipped the burr. I don't use very much pressure at all, just enough to be able to feel that hollow grind and enough to keep it engaged in that hollow grind. Now, there's two other surfaces that I need to sharpen. One is along with the long point, this flat section right along here. Okay, I'm going to take the diamond hone. Again, I'm going to use my finger to register where that flat is. And I'm going to keep my fingers back behind that edge because I don't want to accidentally slice myself. And I just polish up and down. It just takes a few strokes like this, just for a few seconds. And now there's no grinder burrs or wire burrs that are hanging over. And I need to repeat that for the short point. So I flip it around, do the same thing for the short point. That's it. Just make sure that your fingers stay back behind the edge. If your fingers go in front of the edge, you risk slicing them, okay? All right, so now I'm all done with the diamond hone. So 60 grit CBN wheel directly to a extra fine DMT or the carver's stone that Trend makes. And then I'm gonna go straight to my leather strop. I use emery compound for my leather strop because that happens to be the best compound that I found to actually polish the burr away and to refine the edge to the next level for my M42 high-speed steel that, that D-Way provides for my skews. So let's go over to the strop. This is my workbench vise, and I like to have the strop locked in to the workbench vise. This just happens to be a piece of 3/4 inch thick poplar. It's nice and flat, nice and straight, and I've just glued a piece of kangaroo hide to it. You can use kangaroo hide. That's my favorite for carving tools and for turning tools, but it's a little bit challenging to get your hands on. So you just get a really thin piece of cowhide. That will work as well. Rough side up so that it gives a little bit of tooth for that emery compound or whatever polishing compound you're using. And I'm just going to grip it in the vise so it'll hold it nice and stable for me. My skew, I can just barely feel, there it is. I can just barely feel that little wire edge or that little burr from my diamond hone. And that's the side I'm gonna polish first on the strop. So I'm gonna use this side has the burr on it. So I'm gonna flip that down and I'm gonna apply pressure closest to the bevel. So that's where I want to apply pressure. My other fingers are going to wrap under the skew and just lift the weight of the skew. Again, if I have a handle hanging off the end of this, I have a lot more weight I have to balance. So if I can take it out of the handle, that allows me to feel what is happening at the strop and at the edge much better with much more dexterity and sensitivity. Finger is pressing down here at the front. Other fingers are just cradling to hold the weight of the skew. And as I draw the skew back, I want to keep it the same angle in relation to the strop. So I want to keep the same orientation right there all the way back. I'm going to be moving my body forwards and backwards. You'll notice my hips are moving and my arms are moving rather than just bringing my arms back. If I just bring my arms back, I'm going to arc the tool and around over the edge. The other motion that I need to do is I need to twist the tool, just like with the diamond hone. I'm going to start with a long point and I'm going to twist the tool as I draw it back. I'm exaggerating here, but that's the motion that I'm going to be doing. All right, so here we go. My other hand is just going to help push down on the front. So I make sure that I've got plenty of pressure right over this finger, right over top of the hollow grind. Here we go. Drawing it back, nice and intentional. And I don't want to get fancy with a dismount. Don't pull it up like this when you dismount. Just go straight back, lift straight up. I can already see that I have little wires that are coming off or breaking off of that edge. So I know that I'm refining that edge. Again, rolling it over, I can just see a little wire popping up on that, on the short point or near the short point. And I can feel the wire is up on the top. It's ever so fine. I feel underneath to see if I polished it. Oh, just a little bit more needed in line with the short point. So let's do that. Now, be really careful you don't slide off the end of the strop also, because that'll, in essence, it'll break the edge. Okay, that feels really good. Now I'm gonna flip it over. So flipping it over, and I need to do the other side. Same thing, except I'm gonna be twisting it as I draw it back. the other direction. So I start at the long point, again, second hand on top, fingers underneath just to help support the weight of the tool. I want to make sure this is where the pressure is going right here so that I can feel when that hollow grind is engaged with the strop. Again, at the end, stop and lift straight up. Ooh, I can see those wires already starting to come off. And I don't have to push very hard to be able to do this. I just have to push hard enough to where I can feel that entire hollow grind registering and bridging across the strop. Flip it back over to the first side, one or two, flip it back over to the second side, once or twice, and then I'll just go once on each side, nice and gentle. And I'm ready to shave with this. This is shavable sharp. It is razor sharp. Okay, let me check this out and see if I can show you. All right, now this is not for the faint of heart. Please don't feel like you have to do this to test your sharpness. There's lots of ways you can do it. Okay, I'm just going to show you right here. Nice dry shave, a little tuft of hair. Okay, you can see right there is my little strip that I just shaved that hair right off. Dry shave, no razor burn, super sharp. Okay, simple process. Now let me show you the strop. I'm going to take this out of the vise and see if you can see little wires. There's one right there. There's one right there. One right there. And one right there. And I can see them with just the right lighting. So just have good lighting, and the darkness of the stropping compound, the emery compound, really highlights those little silver wires that came off the edge when I polished it on the strop. All right, so there you have it, a razor sharp tool. I even showed you I dry shaved my arm with it. Please don't feel like you have to do that. You can use the wood to be able to tell. You can use a fingernail to be able to tell and be able to see how sharp it is. This is definitely a razor sharp tool. Most people do not believe that you can get a razor sharp tool starting with a 60 grit wheel on grinder. 60 grit CBN wheel. I have a high speed grinder, so it acts a little bit finer in function. I use my DMT Dia-Sharp Diamond Hone, just stepping it up to the extra fine, or the Trend brand Carver's hone. And then I just go straight to the leather strop with the emery compound. And it's just really simple, just 3 steps to get a razor sharp tool. When I'm turning, I rarely go back to the grinder. The only time that I go back is if the edge is chipped or it's dented. All the rest of the time I can get away with the diamond hone, just a few seconds on each side, and then go straight to the leather strop, a few seconds on each side, and I'm back in business with a shavable edge. All right, I hope that this helps. I hope that this gives you some pointers, some tips, those 3 basic steps. Grinder with a platform set at the right angle, using that Sharpie again to help you highlight, to be able to dial in just the exact angle. Diamond hone, and then leather strop. And then you're back in business, getting the cleanest cut possible from this edge. All right, enjoy your E.Lofstrom signature tool and enjoy this great sharpening sequence. Just a simple 3 steps to shavable sharp.